So, a couple of weeks ago, Dallas Fuel had some issues just before the Overwatch League season kicked off. You know, this is Dallas Fuel. They tend to get issues. No matter how good it seems it's going, there seems to be an issue that crops up every now and then. Of course, I'm talking about the withdrawal of Exy, their only hitscan player, due to health issues. It's unfortunate. A substantial oversight from Dallas Fuel, considering apparently, according to Exy, this had been going on since the Paris Eternal days. So you signed a lone hitscan player that perhaps was not great physically and health-wise, and didn't think of signing a backup, and now you've left yourself in a position where you've started the league with no hitscan player, which is kind of rough. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that one. But it's happened now, and Dallas Fuel have to deal with that. So who are they going to try and find to replace someone like Exy? Well, Exy, to be quite honest, Dallas Fuel, obviously they started the season, we're 3 matches into the season for Dallas Fuel now. Actually, by the time this video goes out, it will be 4. But I don't know the result of the last one. I know that they're currently on a 1-2 record. But yeah, it's rough, right? And they found a little bit of success putting Sparkle on the Tracer. We thought that might happen anyway, and then Doha's going to come in and play a different role. But it's causing them issues because they don't have a natural Widow player, they don't have a natural Ashe player, they don't have a natural McCree player. And McCree is very strong at the moment. Ashe is also very good. We're seeing a lot of teams utilizing it, and so it's putting Dallas Fuel on the back foot somewhat. There's a lot of time in the season, obviously, to turn things around, so it's not, you know, all over for Dallas. Let's not get into that pain train. But it's still not great, and it's something they're going to have to sort out pretty quickly. Now, I'm going to pick out a few people, a few names in this video that could be replacements for Dallas Fuel's hitscan issue, its little hole. However, I don't think this is going to be a very quickly fixed issue for Dallas Fuel. Now, the reason I say that is because they're going to probably go to a Korean contenders team, and maybe an NA contenders team, it depends. But most likely, it's going to be a Korean hitscan player, because obviously they're all Korean, right? Which is fine, but if they don't get someone who is either not currently assigned, or is currently in retirement, then they are already on a team. Problem is, we are heading into playoffs of Korean contenders for Season 1. So, a lot of people in Korean contenders are going to be very, very reluctant to let go of great hitscan players before the end of the Korean contenders season. And I believe that the grand final for Korean contenders Season 1 is, I think, the 18th of May? I might be wrong. So, that leaves Dallas Fuel, if they can't get one of those prized away from those teams, which they possibly could, possibly might not, you don't know. But if they can't, then they're going to be left without a hitscan for actually a substantial amount of time. And that's not great. So, I'm going to pick out a bunch of people here. All of these, apart from one, are in Korean contenders, because I don't think Dallas Fuel are going to go anywhere else. There is an honorable mention that we will come across actually now. I'm going to go over this issue because I've been hearing quite a few people bring it up. And this is Guard. A lot of people have been mentioning Guard, and he's retired. He was a trial coach for Runaway coming out of retirement, but he's recently gone back into retirement. He was on London Spitfire for a while, and previous to that he was on Element Mystic. He was on Element Mystic when Sparkle and Exy were on Element Mystic. So, it makes sense, but what doesn't make sense is A, I do not think Guard is going to come out of retirement. And B, Guard is not a long-range hitscan player. He is not well known for his long-range hitscan. Guard was always known as a fantastic Sombra player, and a really good Tracer player, and had a decent Brig. He was not known for picks like McCree and Widow and Ashe. Well, back then it wasn't really Ashe at all. But he wasn't a great long-range hitscan. Hence the fact that Element Mystic would very often play Exy on the long-range hitscan, and then bring in Guard when they wanted a Sombra. So, I don't think Guard is the pick. And if Dallas Fuel were to pick up Guard, I wouldn't like that, simply because his hero pool is covered by the other DPS they've got, i.e. Doar and the Sparkle. So they don't need the guard. And I think it would be a rush panic reaction that I don't think Dallas need to do, because he won't fix their issue. However, the other players we're going to look at would certainly fix the Dallas Fuel's issue, but it's just going to be a little bit more difficult to get hold of them. First of all, let's talk about Innovation. Innovation? South Korean hitscan player, quite obviously, currently in the company of Team CC KR. Currently Team CC are setting up home in Korea. They are not in China at the moment, and Team CC KR are doing very well in Korea, actually, and off the back of their Gauntlet win last year as the Chinese version of CC. Innovation is 21 years old and has a really nice flexible hero build that does include the McCree and the Widowmaker, which means you will have a decent Ash as well. He's also got a little bit of Mei and Sombra and Chaser. He's just a nice all-round hero pool. He's also taken on a little bit of a coaching role for Team CC as well. He's a player coach for Team CC, which is a neat one. I think Innovation is very much an outlier. He's a name I wanted to throw in there because he's got a stellar record with Team CC going back to the days when they were competing in China. And he's now doing fantastic in Korea as well. So I think he would be a very good pickup for Dallas Fuel. However, I don't think he's the likely pickup for Dallas Fuel. But I want to name the people that I think Dallas should also... I want to name the people that Dallas I think should pick up, as well as the people I think they will pick up, if you see what I mean. Anyway, moving on from Innovation, then you've got Develop. Develop is the Korean hitscan player for Talon. Talon, possibly the best team in Korea right now. Possibly not. There are a lot of options in Korea right now. It's between CC and Talon though, because they have just beaten O2 Blast and T1. So I believe they beat T1, or was it T1 beating Talon? I could be wrong either way. But anyway, Develop, big name for Talon esports at the moment, didn't have a massive background. And that's the thing with Develop. He came from OZ Gaming. Another one of those weird ones, right? We've seen a lot of OZ Gaming players promoted to Overwatch League. Friday at New York Excelsior being one of them. Skewed at Los Angeles Gladiators as well. Checkmate, I think, was at OZ Gaming, who's now with Florida Mayhem. A lot of players came from that team, even though that team didn't do massively well. So a lot of people have been scouting OZ Gaming, and Talon managed to pick up Develop from them. Develop is only 18, a lot of potential development in Develop. I had to make that for some reason. But again, McCree, Widow, Tracer, Ash. Exactly what you want to see in a hitscan player. Nice hero pool. Exactly what Dallas Fuel need covered, which is really, really good. May not have the longest and biggest of records, but he is a rather new face on the scene, I suppose you could say. He did have time in 2019 with Geekstar, but he's really like making waves now in Korea. And I think actually he'd be a very good pickup for Dallas, and possibly better than Innovation, simply because it's a longer term pickup and one that I think they can rely on for actually years to come if they want to keep this team together, which I presume Dallas Fuel do. I mean, it would be nice to have some consistency in Dallas Fuel roster season on season, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. So I think Develop could actually be a mighty good pickup for Dallas Fuel if they could get hold of him mid-season. So he's one of my front runners that I would like to see them pick up. Then we come on to a player that we've heard of before. This is Babel. Babel was at London Spitfire last season, and Babel was known for having a very different style of Widowmaker at London Spitfire, and it caught them off guard, caught people off guard at times, and he looked actually pretty good. He's now on Team BM in South Korea. Again, he's got all those hitscan picks you want. Hasn't really got a Tracer on him, but again, that's being covered by Sparkle right now. So this, again, may be a little bit of an outlier. The reason I've put Babel in here is if you look at the Dallas Fuel, you look at the roster they've signed. Yes, it's all Element Mystic related. We can't get away from that. But what it also is is all very league experienced. When you look at the support line of Fielder, Jexer, and Rappel, all got league experience, although Fielder on the shorter side of league experience, obviously. Fearless and Hambin now have league experience prior to their Dallas Fuel time, and obviously XE, Sparkle, and Doha all have league experience prior to this season, which I think was a massive part in which of why Dallas kind of picked up this roster as they did, because there were Element Mystic players outside of the league that they didn't pick up. They decided to leave them alone. People like Unique and MCD. So that's a weird one. And that's why I've thrown Babel in here, because Babel has league experience. Although it is with London Spitfire from last year, which is not great. However, we are seeing quite a few of these London Spitfire players from last year flourishing Korean contenders right now. Celestin is one of them. Currently at Talon or T1, I think he's at T1. My bad if he isn't. Also, Sanguinar O2 Blast is doing very well. Krillin is doing very well. He's with Celestin, which place they are at, I can't remember. I think they might be T1 actually. So we're seeing a lot of that talent do well now, and Babel is holding his own in career as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if maybe they took it on, but again, he's a little bit of an outlier because he isn't the top tier hitscan that they may be looking for. So this leads me on to the last person I'm going to pick out of the Korean region. This is going to be Merit. So this is obviously from Runaway, and this I think is possibly the least likely because it's going to be hard to prize him away from Runaway right now, although it is, you're pricing him away with the idea of, 50k a year. Hello, welcome to the Overwatch League. You're competing at the very highest level. Welcome. But 18 years old, Merit's a great player. Been doing well for Runaway. Was at LG Ouya before that. He doesn't have the biggest of history, shall we say? But since coming to Runaway, he has done very well. He won Contender Season 2 China with LG Ouya. All the way back then, and now he's come to Runaway, consistently good for Runaway, right? Second place 2020 Season 1 career with Runaway, second place Season 2 career with Runaway, because Runaway likes second place. I think we already know that from history, and has a few tournaments under the belt with the China Career Invitational with Runaway, and also the NetEase tournament from 2020 summer. So he has a wealth of experience underneath his belt at the very highest level in the Asian region or in Korea as well. Knows the Sombra McCree Ash very well, also has the Sombra in the back pocket, which is lovely because you love a good Sombra player, don't we? Yes. So I think Merit would actually be quite a nice pickup. Out of the four that I've mentioned, I should say, not including Guard, I'd love to see either Develop or Merit. I think those would be the best pickups for Dallas possible. There is another person that we can go to, and this takes us out of Korean contenders, and this takes us to North American contenders. This is obviously Sigma. No, not the hero, the actual player, Sigma, who plays hitscan. Obviously playing for Odyssey right now, one of the only Korean influences in NA contenders. I believe Sigma plays on Ping from South Korea. So anyone who's thinking, they'll pick up Sigma because he's NA and they won't have to play on Ping, I do not believe that is the case. I believe he plays from Korea, so he will be in the same position as any of these Korean players would be. So that's a problem. He did have time way back on O2 Blast, way back when he was 15, 16 years old. And then disappeared off the face of the earth and came back and is now with Odyssey at the age of 20. The problem is with Sigma, I don't think he'll be a great pickup. Mainly because he plays a massive amount of McCree. But McCree. We don't see much of the Sigma with it. We don't see much of the Sigma ass. It's mainly McCree and Tracer that Sigma plays. Mainly Tracer actually in this current contender season that we are seeing. So that worries me. It doesn't provide a lot of flexibility for Dallas, which I really want to see for Dallas. I really want to see flexibility. And that's why I'd love to see them pick up someone like develop. I actually think develop is possibly the perfect pickup for Dallas, because then you've got Doa for the Sombra if you ever want to run that, and anything else a little bit wacky. You've got Sparkle for that much more projectile based Pharah and Genji and Echo and things like that. Obviously the Doomfist. And also the Tracer that Sparkle can now play and has demonstrated very good skill on. And then, when you want that core hitscan, you have Develop. And he will be great at that. But he's also got the Tracer. So if we go into something silly like a Pharah Tracer meta, then you've got Sparkle and Develop. I think that would be nutty as a DPS line, to be quite honest with you. So, yeah, I wanted to give my opinions on what I think Dallas might do, what I think Dallas should do. Again, we don't know until Dallas do. But I think possibly it may take longer than people expect for Dallas to nail down a hitscan player. Possibly until after the main melee completes, which will be not this week, not next week, but the week after. Which, all of a sudden, I believe the Korean Contenders season finals will probably be deliberately put in the off week for the league, if there is one. So that's what I would expect. And what wouldn't surprise me is if Dallas have nailed down a player, but have agreed for them to play with a team that they're already on until the end of their season, maybe. That's possibly what might happen. Because it would be, not gonna lie, kind of rough if they nicked a hitscan player off of a Korean Contenders team and completely mucked out their Korean Contenders season. Wouldn't be particularly nice, and I, in some respects, think that Contenders teams should be protected from that sort of thing happening anyway, because it's not fair. They cannot compete generally with these league teams when it comes to financial power. That's what we will say for that. But yeah, Dallas Field, interesting issue. They have been holding their own though, despite their issues, and I wish them all the best going forward. I think they will still have a very good season, even though they're on a 1-2 record right now. You never know, it might be a 2-2 record by the time, well, when this goes out. It'll either be a 2-2 record or a 1-3 record by the time this goes out. And I'm sure Dallas Field fans are praying for a 2-2 record. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here for this one. All the socials are linked in the video description for Illusion Gaming and myself. Join the Discords and Twitters. Follow my Twitter. We recently broke 150 followers on Twitter, so thank you for that. And yeah, hit the bell for more videos coming out. Overwatch League will be coming up in the next few days. And it is a bumper weekend for week 3. So yeah, it's going to be very busy heading into that. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.